What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Shawnee P, aka Sean Valy, coming at you with another Valley's Corner. Today we have a special guest, one of my good buddies and music collaborators, WesLeeWates. What's going on, man?
Yo, glad to be here.
Yeah, long time coming too, because I keep going on social media and being like, "Yo, who wants to be on the podcast?" So you finally made it, but that's also my shitty planning with just like everyone reaching out and being like, I want to do it. I'm like, okay, well, I just got to schedule Saturdays and hopefully nothing else pops up that's like, you know, important. But yeah, man. So I'm happy you're here finally.
Absolutely, dude.
And so what you're a musician. What made you get into it? How long have you been doing it? Just so people who don't know you, explain a little bit about it.
Yeah, so growing up, I feel like I was more into sports than I was music, but I played cello, violin, saxophone, trumpet, messed around on the drums sometimes, but I never really got too into it, to be honest with you. I was always more focused on other things, and I don't think I fully appreciated it. And when when I was playing the saxophone, I feel like we always had harmony parts, and subconsciously, I feel like that's kind of worked its way into the way I think when it comes to recording vocals and all that stuff. I feel like it's always good to have that lead, but then having something in harmony with it always just it brings it up so much. Um, but yeah, so anyways, back to excuse me.
You're good.
Back to a little bit about how I got to where I am now though. So was in band, was in chorus for a little bit, and then I stopped in high school and played sports, and then I went to college and I was in a fraternity with Chris Leonard
Shout
and
out Chris Leonard.
shout out Cree.
Cree.
Cree baby. But yeah, so a few of the brothers in my fraternity were rappers, would you call it? And
You went to Westchester, right?
I went to Bloomsburg.
Oh, Bloomsburg.
hmm
You live up near the
Yeah, I'm like
Westchester region, though.
yeah, I'm like 5 minutes from Westchester.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they were all rapping, recording music, and I thought it was so cool. And I would mess around and freestyle with my friends and do stuff like that. And then some of my brothers got me into recording, and I never really took it too seriously. It was just something to mess around and have fun with. And eventually, after college, I decided to retire
From
from
music?
from rapping.
Yeah.
From rapping. Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if rapping is really my lane. I mean, I can do it, but I feel like
Did you put any rap songs out at that time? Or was it,
there's a few on SoundCloud.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a few on SoundCloud.
but never any like on Spotify and all that kind? It was kind of just like
No.
demo stuff that you did with people, and it was kind of just SoundCloud stuff.
Yeah, like we'd put something on SoundCloud. It was like a YouTube ripped beat, and then we'd record over it, and then we'd bring it to like a party, and we'd be like, "Yo, let me get the aux," and then you'd play it and like see if anyone notices.
Yeah.
And we had a song called Dojo. Shout out to Ron Jenkins and Perry, but that song was it was cool. We had a lot of fun making it and played it at some parties and stuff. But yeah, excuse me. I started playing the piano in college too, and there was a piano in the bottom of my dorm room, and I would just go down when I was doing laundry, and I would just start playing. And my brother played too, and my brother's just such a good musician. Shout out to Will. He's in a lot of my records actually. He plays guitar and plays piano, and yeah, I mean he would get a lot of attention just going into like the study halls and
Mhm.
playing. Girls are all about it and this and that, and I just thought it was so cool. So I tried to be like him, and
Yeah, your older brother.
yeah, absolutely.
So your older brother, was he ever pursuing music, or did once you got into recording and stuff, did he, that's when you started recording him too, or was he ever pursuing music at all, or is he just like musically? You guys all, I feel like, are musically gifted to a point because you did pick up things like quickly in comparison to other people. But yeah, like, was he always doing music, and was he recording?
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, my brother's pretty similar to me in a sense of being in band and everything growing up, but not really being fully committed to it. And I want to say the first time that he ever recorded something was he had a Yamaha keyboard, and you could just, I think you could record like 5 tracks on it. And there's just a metronome, like it's not like a DAW or anything like that, but he'd record a couple loops and put them together and make like a piano cover of like Apologize, One Republic, or like something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And that was the first time that he ever recorded anything and I ever saw anyone record something like that. And that was before I ever got into recording music at all.
Mm-hmm.
So he was doing that, and then he never really went anywhere with it. He picked up the guitar, and I think he's just a musician at heart. I think he just likes playing the piano, likes
Yeah.
playing the guitar.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there is people still out there who don't need to do all of this. They just enjoy like the simple pleasure of like playing a guitar or playing piano, and like that's enough for them.
Absolutely.
Um, but for us, I guess with just getting into the process and all that, like we enjoy the process of creating music and then releasing it, because it's just like it's a different, it's an experience, right?
Absolutely.
So so after college you got into what was like the first things you did? Because for me, in high school when I started making music, it was, go get a microphone, and the microphone came with Pro Tools, and then that's all it was a microphone, Pro Tools, YouTube beats. So for you, since you were a little bit older and like had your head on your shoulders more, you weren't like young and like technology was there, like what was the first things you did? Because you do have like a collection of instruments and equipment and all that kind of stuff. So what was the first move?
Yeah, so the first move for me was right after I graduated college. I really wanted like a big boy keyboard or piano or whatever you want to call it. And I decided to get this. It's a Roland Juno DS88 is what it is, and it's a analog synth, so you have to plug it into an amp to be able to play it. And I got that, and then I just was just playing, having fun. I recorded a couple covers, not into like a mic or anything like that. And then eventually, my buddy Ron, who records music, who actually really, at the end of the day, got me into it. I was like, "Yo, dude, how do you record stuff? I just want to mess around and record stuff on my own and see what I could do." And he told me his setup, and he had a Mac, and I had a PC at the time, so he used Logic, and I couldn't get Logic. So, excuse me, I went to Sam Ash, and I talked to the guys there, and they're like, "You should get a Scarlett, like a Focusrite,"
Yeah.
and it came with a free trial for Ableton. So,
You never went back after that.
yeah, I fired it up, and I kind of maxed out like the free trial or whatever. I think you can only do like 10 tracks, and I was like, all right, well,
That's
I,
not enough.
yeah, I was like, right, exactly. They're like 100 track mixes now,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I was like, might as well stick with Ableton. It's what I know. It's awesome, and I just started trying to have fun and just seeing what I could make, and I quickly realized how not easy it is.
Mm.
I would make the shittiest beats,
Mhm.
like looking back at some of it, it's like, oh my lord, that was so bad.
Mhm.
But it was all part of the process, and I think my first two inspirations were the Chainsmokers and Post Malone,
Mhm.
and those were just the two artists or groups or whatever you want to call them that really just gave me inspiration to make my own stuff and make original music, because I'm like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. Now it's not that simple,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's really what got me going.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
And so I mean, my story is essentially pretty similar. I just started a little bit earlier. Um, but yeah, man, it's just cool. And for everyone out there tuning in, as you may know, a lot of people make music and a lot of people make art at this point. It's so easy for us to, get our hands on a computer at this point, get our hands on a microphone at this point. But what it comes down to, as you see with Wes and with me and with everyone else out there, is it's whether you keep doing it or you stop. So like I know over my years, a lot of people who made music and don't anymore, and they kind of just like called it quits. And so the difference is for everyone watching, when when you do something and you start to like it, you have that conscious decision of whether you're going to continue it and grow your arsenal of equipment and all that kind of stuff. And obviously you did, I did, because we're sitting in my sanctuary here. But when you started making music, what like Post Malone inspired genres and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me, the beers, the Blue Moon. Shout out Blue Moon. When you started and till now, like where's the shift been with the progress and the genre? Because you do, a few of your recent releases, except for the new one that you just put out, and I think you put out one more before that. You just put out two, right?
Yeah,
recently?
2 self-releases they weren't electronic music.
Yes,
they were more just organic kind of singer-songwriter
Gotcha.
stuff.
So tell me about the whole deal with what happened with the electronic stuff, and where that came about, how you met them, and yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, one of my first inspirations was the Chainsmokers, and I tried making electronic music myself, and there's a reason why those people are artists, but they don't sing on the tracks. It's because the production of those electronic music songs, it's a whole thing in itself.
It's a vibe. It's like like you go to the club and you fucking are just like fucking hyped up. That's a lot of like Skrillex type stuff, right? Like DJing and like...
Yeah, I mean, it could really be... I mean, it's such a gray area, I would say. There's so many different ways you could classify different types. I mean, it's really evolved so much over the past, I guess, 10 years. 'Cause that's really how long it's truly been. I mean, I guess I'd say probably like 2012 was when it really started to take off. But anyways, so I started getting into that space a little bit. I started connecting with a lot of people on Instagram, like how I met you.
Yeah, how did we meet? A quick side story, just through it. Did I follow you or did you follow me?
I think so.
Was it a Chris Leonard thing? Shout out Chris Leonard.
Shout out Chris.
See what you did?
I think I remember Chris coming over one time and telling me about you, and then I just followed you on Instagram and saw that you made quality music, and I just love your work ethic and everything. And yeah, I think I just followed you, and then we kind of just slowly
we supported each other for a long time before we finally met. And but yeah, this is the beautiful thing about internet in a healthy way, right? You make relationships and that kind of stuff.
It's my favorite part about it.
Yeah, but yeah, so go ahead about the whole house music or...
Yeah, so it's kind of just a weird web of social media networking, I guess I would really say. I mean, I connected with a dude from Baltimore. His name was Evan Wilder. Shout out Evan Wilder. He's a really nice DJ, or a really good DJ, excuse me. And yeah, he plays a lot of shows. But he kind of got me into it in a sense of where I wrote a song. I had just gotten out of a bad breakup at the time, and I wrote a song about that and sent it to him, and he had a production for it and turned it into something really cool. And then he sent it to some labels, and a label signed it, and it ended up getting like, I think it's like 25,000 streams or something like that, which was the most that I had ever gotten. And I was like, whoa, this is how you got to go about getting more exposure, is getting your song signed to these electronic music labels with which there's like a little niche market for, and just getting exposure that way. And once I did that, the label had a remix competition, and I remember they put something on Instagram, which song should we do a remix competition for? And I DM'd the label, and I was like, on my mind, WesLeeWates, Evan Wilder. And they sent me back. They're like, send me the stems. Okay. So I got on my computer real quick, sent them the stems, and then I think it was like a month later, they ended up picking 3 winners, and they released all 3 of the remixes onto Spotify and everything. And after that, I got probably like 100, 150 more followers on my Spotify, and I had just a load of different electronic music artists DM me and like email me and stuff and say, hey, I love your vocals. I'd love to work with you on something. And I connected with a bunch of people that way. And then, funny enough, a dude from Finland, shout out Juho,
Yuho.
Juho.
Julio.
but but yeah, I found him on a YouTube video remix competition. I was like, yo, this dude's sick. How did he not win? I think he came in like 4th place or something like that. And I followed him on Instagram, and he followed me back. And then I can't remember who DM'd each other first, but then we ended up just becoming friends and just kind of shooting the shit. And we made a few songs together. And yeah, that's kind of how it's been working.
Yeah.
It's just been social media networking.
Yeah,
really.
and it's a big thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like at this point, I do tell people, like I've told Shane, and I tell myself too, like it is still so important, man, for us to go out there and network in person, especially for doing shows and just being social in our community of art and music and all that kind of stuff. But with social media being the way it is, there's so many relationships that are just built through that become like lifelong relationships. And you have them, I have them, and it's like it's such a tool. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Like it's just such a fucking tool that we have in our hands to meet people and collaborate. One of my biggest, I don't know if you followed me back then, but I had a vinyl pressed, and this was a boom bap hip hop like 90s vibe album that I did with my buddy Kev. But long story short, because this is a very long story, I was collaborating with people back in my early days of music, and I sucked at recording, all that kind of stuff, but I still had people here. We were recording music. And there's this one dude who came through. I'm just going to say Joe, because he went through so many artist names, and that's a whole nother story. But Joe came through, and he was really good at rapping. He was probably our age back then. So he was like 28, I was like only like 18. So I was working with this dude who's 28, and he was rapping over these like boom bap hip hop beats. And I was just like, damn, like this is what me and Kev want to be doing. Like we want to be rapping on these beats instead of like just random YouTube beats. So, I was recording this kid for like probably 2 months. He was just coming through, and Kev would come over. We'd all smoke and shit. And finally, he gave me the connect. Shout out Keith Science. Keith Science was the first person, and I never met Keith Science in person. That's the whole circle of the story. Met him through phone, social media, and all that kind of stuff. It was more so just text and phone calls, but met him, and he was like, listen, like I'm not handing out beats anymore. I did that for Jog or Joe, and I'll give you 2 beats and see what you can do with them or whatever. Because at the time, Keith Science had a decent following on like Twitter, and Instagram wasn't even really it was a thing, but it wasn't like how it is now. I think Twitter was like the bigger, like you wanted your shit to get retweeted and all that kind of stuff.
I never got into Twitter, honestly.
Yeah, I was on Twitter from like just high school. Like everyone, was like having a secondary Facebook. But I ended up unfollowing everyone, and I only follow maybe 10 to 15 people on there right now, and they're literally just people that I strictly work with, like my producers and maybe a few other people. But Keith Science gave me these 2 beats, and I made 2 songs to him, and he was like, yo, these are actually pretty good songs. And these were like the first this was like the start of a different chapter in my journey of making music, because now I wasn't using YouTube beats anymore. Now I actually had a producer who was like, okay, like here's original beats, and he was making them on fucking, the analog old school shit. So yeah, he sent me these 2 beats, man, and from there we did a 9-song album over like a year and a half. Me and my buddy Kev collaborated on it. Yeah, and this guy had some money. He had his career and shit, and he was just like, I'm gonna invest in. His big thing was getting vinyls pressed and all this shit. So I have still boxes of vinyls.
That's really cool.
When I go to when I go to shows or some shit, I'll bring like 10 of them and just sign them or whatever the fuck and just hand them out, because it's kind of just like promo at this point. But they are like limited because we'll never have them pressed ever again. So like what I have is what exists in the world. And but yeah, I never met the guy, and so it just goes to show like. And he was my first mentor too. Like I never had like guidance from anyone in terms of like management or anything like that. And he was the first person, I guess I could say, like who believed in me, like bigger than just like bedroom shit. And he pressed the fucking vinyls, sent me boxes of them. I was just like, holy shit. And so it's just that it's not even, it is, the vinyl is out on, Spotify and all that, but it's under my old name, which was Kid Sean back in the day. I used to go by Kid Sean in the corner. But yeah, man, just a very, very cool thing early in my situation that I was just like, oh shit, okay, like you don't have to go out there physically and every time, like you can meet people online and shit. And yeah, dude, just a really cool experience,
Yeah, and I think social media is a double-edged sword. I mean, if it weren't for the networking aspect and the building a brand and getting your music out there in front of people, honestly, I probably wouldn't have social media. I mean, it's...
Neither would I. I can't stand it, to be honest.
Same.
Like, in terms of going on there and, like, looking at other people's shit. But then if you, like... My whole thing was, about a year ago, I was like, I'm unfollowing everyone. Like, everyone. And then I'm only going to follow the people I work with musically, right? So...
Probably smart.
It is smart. But what happened was people were getting pissed off. They're like, yo, why'd you unfollow me? I'm like, dude, or she. I'm like, it's nothing personal. I'm literally doing this because I need my social media to be only a tool at this point. Like, for my mental health and just for my growth as well in life. And, so I started unfollowing everyone, and, people were just like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, fuck, here we go with this shit. Like, I don't want people to, like, it literally wasn't anything personal, but wouldn't you rather be on social media and think about, like, music, right? Quality over quantity. Wouldn't you rather be on social media and be following, like, 25 to 30 solid ass accounts, like not even like maybe a few famous people who really inspire you, but like other than that, like it's a tool to network with your buddies who also make music. So like you, Shane Z, like my producers, like these people who I need to be in touch with all the time for, the music shit.
Definitely.
And so you don't get sidelined and sidetracked with like everything else because it's heavy. You know what I mean? Like
there's so much out there.
You get caught on it to the
bunch of bullshit too.
Yeah, you get caught on it to the point where it's just like it becomes toxic, and it can affect people. And so at this point, for me at least, I don't know about you, but I try to only pop on there to use it as a tool without looking at everyone's shit, because it is just like, oh shit, yeah, I'm just sitting in here doing my music while everyone's out still doing their thing. But like, it's nothing to feel bad about. It's just that everyone's in their own lane doing their thing. What's your typical weekend look like?
Recently,
didn't that come quick? I'm like, boom.
Well, recently I've spent a lot of time just focusing on the Phillies and the Eagles.
Yeah.
I hate to bring it up, but I feel like I put so much of my emotional energy into it the past couple months, And
The Union bomb too. Remember the soccer?
Shout out to the Union. I'll be honest, I don't pay attention to soccer at all.
I don't either, but it was like, oh, they're in the championship, and we're like, okay, go Philly.
Yeah.
And then I think the Phillies were on right after that as well. But yeah,
I mean, great time. I mean, what a run by all of the teams.
Yeah,
it was probably the most fun I've ever had watching sports.
Me too.
In my life. It was just so fun.
Especially the Phillies.
The Phillies run was so special. Like I've never had more fun watching baseball. And I mean, I'm a big baseball fan. Went to the Phillies World Series parade back in 08, all that
Me
stuff.
too, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I've been investing in, obviously on Sundays and some Saturdays with the playoff games. But after this week, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like severely depressed for. I mean, I would say I probably started getting over it on Thursday, probably. Like I tried. All right, so on Monday,
Thursday, I think so.
I tried. I was like, you know what? There's got to be some way I can get my mind off of it. Like I couldn't think about anything else. I'm like, like let me try to make some music. So I started messing around with some chords and doing some stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do this right now.
Not
this
feeling
sucks. I didn't want to do anything. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like maybe that'll change soon, and I feel like I'm back to normal now.
Yeah. No, dude, I literally went through the same thing too. I told you when you got here, I'm like, yeah, I haven't been in here in a few weeks. Like, literally just got sidelined by all like the Eagles for one, and then personal shit. I wanted to ask you about like live shows and stuff because we've talked about possibly holding down like some kind of live show that would include like a fundraiser or anything like that. Like, what's your history in the past with performing? Have you done it much or?
So I've only done 2 actual shows. Shout out to my boy Nate. He has for the past 2 years done a little charity concert event in his backyard, which is like a little farm field kind of a thing. And this past year he got food trucks, had tents, generators, all that kind of stuff, and we just vibe out for the day and have a good time. So I've done that twice. Definitely learned a lot from that. I've set up all my stuff in my backyard and done some concerts kind of stuff. Yeah, practice with my brother, and my family will sit out there at the fire pit, stuff like that. And then I've done a bunch of stuff in my room and then just recording in the studio, which is much different than playing live.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would love for us to like we have to, like 100%, we have to set up like a show where there's multiple artists out, because unless I do more of the organic stuff, like even the song that we did a month or 2 ago, I would want to have a DJ out too for people who don't play instruments specifically.
Yeah.
And so maybe we could get out like, I don't know, 5 to 6 artists on a Saturday. Like, I don't know where was your location that you guys were doing it in that field?
It's Bethlehem.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming Nate's doing it again, it's probably going to be in June. So I'll talk to him about
let me know, bro.
Figuring some stuff out.
Yeah.
Shawnee P out there.
Yeah, for sure, because like
sick.
Yeah, because like I haven't performed essentially since before, like performed like in front of like I did a wedding. I did my buddy's wedding. I did a set,
which looked fire.
It was the coolest show I've ever done. Coolest set, I should say. It wasn't a show.
Same day.
It was a show for 15 minutes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But yeah, it was the coolest thing ever because they all knew the words. But yeah, I haven't performed like in Philly or anything like that for a while. See what essentially it was before COVID was Kane Kerner. Shout out Kane Kerner. He was hosting these events every third Thursday. So him and Ruffin, shout out Ruffin as well. We're hosting these events every third Thursday of the month, down at Bourbon and Branch. I forget the other place that they were at for a while, but when my time was there, it was Bourbon and Branch, and this is like a bar venue downstairs. Then you go up the staircase, and it's like it's another venue. It's just not a bar. Well, there is a bar in the back, but anyways, it was a small venue, but they would pack it the hell out, dude. Like there'd probably be 150, 200 people just packed it. Like the space was the size of the garage outside the door here.
Okay.
But then extend it was like a stage. So like, and then extend it in the back was like a bar. So like, but the space of the garage was it. But there would be like, it would be packed, like lined up with people. And so Kane would invite me down, you know, whenever there was an open 15, 25-minute set. And so I did that for a few times, and it was really fucking fun because they would bring out people who wanted to vibe out. So you'd come hard.
They're there for the music.
They were there for the music. You were coming with the hard hits. You know what I mean? Like, but there was people, like there was this one kid, I forget his name, but he would come out, he'd plug his guitar in, dude, and just sit there and fucking just him and his guitar sit on a stool type shit. So like,
that's so impressive.
Yeah, so like people didn't. It wasn't just like a hip hop concert. It was like whoever wanted to showcase their talent, could showcase it.
Which is what we should do.
Yes, so that's essentially what we should do. It does, like we don't have to choose a genre. Like if Shane was there, Shane would be needing his DJ. You know what I mean? Like we'd need a DJ for Shane.
I mean, here's what I would say in terms of the DJ. I feel like I could be that person, but it just depends on how you want to do it. Like there's different ways that you could go about your live set. Like what I've personally done is I've exported stems and I'll bring them into my laptop that I use for performing, and I'll just bring them into Ableton, and then you can just take out the vocals, you can add harmonies, you can mix things in more with the different layers of the track, and you can just have a lot more control as opposed to a DJ just playing the final record of the song and you just trying to sing over it.
Yeah.
Which is fine, and sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But there's no right and no wrong when it comes to live performance, but I just think it would be so cool to be able to have more control over everything with your performance. And I don't know if I'd be able to do that for like 5 people, but I could probably do it for you and
so maybe what we'd be able to do in terms of doing like a fundraiser type show is get all the artists together in one room and be like, hey, we're doing, you know, like the people that we choose. So like me and you, we would do longer sets, right? Because we'd be running the show, hosting it, whatever the case. And but get everyone in the room, get like 5-6 artists in the room, and be like, all right, choose your 3 favorite songs, 3 favorite. Everyone gets a fucking 15-minute set type shit, like a 2-hour long with like 2 or 3 intermissions where you just drink, hang out, you know.
I'd be about
and
it.
there's
That'd be fun.
and there's venues too. I forget who. Scotty. I was shout out 6 Foot Scotty. I was talking to him.
Scotty.
He actually came through here back in November. We didn't podcast though. We just got right to work the one day. But he was saying that for a future release, he wanted to rent out a space that's local to here, I believe, maybe like 15, 20 minutes away from here, which is local to like
close
meet
enough.
in the middle, 20 minute. But yeah, even if it wasn't like outdoor, there's venues around where we just, $500 for the night, easy peasy. We fucking raise the money, pay the $500, and then raise more money for the cause that we're doing. My whole thing with music was I never cared about like the money situation, especially because I always had other shit going on. Of course, like we drive to, you know, in the perfect world, the perfect grand scheme, it would be like amazing to be, you know, fully employed through our solo music careers and stuff. But, you know, life, reality, all that kind of stuff. So I never cared about money. So that was my whole thing with like doing like a fundraiser charity type situation, because then at that point, people will also want to come out because they know it's for like a good cause. You know what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, but yeah, if we could just get like 6 artists, 6 solid people, and get them all in the room and all work together and be like, all right, you're doing 3 songs, but you only need like a DJ type set. Okay, well, we'll set you up in this corner. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, you want to take all your stems out and kind of do it like this, we'll set you up in this corner and go from there and build the set around how it needs to be, built. Like maybe it'd be easier to do the live performances towards the end, or not the end, but towards the second half of the show, right? Because like you don't want to set up the stage or whatever with all your shit plugged in, and then all of a sudden you got to take it all down because someone's coming up to just do a DJ type set.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that'd be cool for us to figure out in the future, with just like choosing the right people, but also not being like too they don't do live music so they can't come.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
being exclusive.
Yeah, like there's no need for it. We want to take anyone. I will say their music has to be good as fuck though.
Yeah, I mean it's gotta meet a certain threshold.
Yeah, there's a threshold that it has to meet. Maybe what we can also do is like some kind of like tryout thing. Like, yo, we're holding down this cool event. It's for a charity. We're only selecting 6 people, and that will bring in a lot more artists too. And to come out to the show, maybe we could do like giveaways too. Like even if you're not selected to perform, you still come out, show support, and like there's like raffles and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that'd be so fun.
See, I feel, to me, something like that is bigger than just being like a famous like person and like just touring in front of your, like I feel like charity work is like just cooler. I don't know, like I just feel like smaller, tighter situations, but like but it's for like charity and shit, it's just more meaningful. How do you feel about that?
I would agree. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything that you can do to give back to the community, I think is always welcomed with open arms.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, and I think it's a bigger purpose, it's a greater purpose than just the music. And I would agree with you. I mean, I don't do it for the money. I mean, I could have made a lot of money at this point, relatively speaking. But it's not about that for me. I mean, it sounds like it's the same way for you. And I don't mean to be negative about it in a sense, but I think something that I realized was it's very, very difficult to make a consistent living off of it. Like
Bingo.
It's like there's only certain things that are sustainable. Like, okay, maybe I master or mix people's songs, but it's like, how long can you do that for? And what's the market for that? I mean, there is a market for it. I mean, it's
just that there's so many other people doing it.
Yeah,
so it's just like there's only so much space.
Exactly.
Right? Like, so like if you're based out of Philly and you're like, oh, I'm a mixing engineer, it's like, well, there's also 5,000 other ones based out of Philly too.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, exactly right. Like it's just to the point where music. I was watching a John Mayer podcast. I might have said this in my last podcast with Shane. I have no idea. It hasn't come out yet, but it probably will be out by the time this is out. But I was watching this John Mayer podcast, and he was saying that when he was coming up, like in the early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of people, right, doing it, like doing the music thing. So he said it was a lot easier, he feels, back then to have got on, because what you would do is you would, obviously work on an album in a studio and pay for it. And then you would find someone who fucks with the album, and they would have someone, and you just get that connect that would push that album out. He said now if he was trying to become famous in this day and age, he said he would just be like everyone else on TikTok, sitting there playing his guitar, getting like 2,000 views on the reel. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'd say that is
there's so much talent.
Yeah, that's so true in some respects. I will say John Mayer is a fucking beast.
Maybe he was so under talking himself or whatever. That
for sure, but still, I mean, I get your point.
But you get that
100%.
Like, it doesn't even have to be about him. It's just about the idea of like how much harder it is at this point than it probably was back then.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have this, like, there's so many people that you see on TikTok, Instagram that are so skilled, and it's just like they'll only ever be a TikTok or Instagram
Or
But
maybe they will, or maybe they won't. I mean, who know?
you're right.
You never know. And
Yep.
I feel like if you do it for the right reasons, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. But if you do it for the right reasons, I think that is the most valuable thing. Like
Yeah.
you can't make music for the end result. I feel like it's all about the journey of getting there and constantly, if you run into a wall on something, I mean that's probably why I have most of the gear that I have is I accumulated it over a period of like 5 or 6 years at this point. I didn't just get it overnight. Like I didn't just buy all of it. But I'd run into a problem and then I'd figure out how I could solve that problem. And usually it was from a plug-in or from buying something new or whatever. And it's not about buying new stuff. You don't need all the gear in the world to make stuff. But I will say it really helps inspire you.
It does.
I just got a new mic. I want like let me make something new. Or
Yeah.
I got a keyboard. Or I got this new plug-in that sounds I could make some crazy shit with it or whatever, and it just inspires you to make something new. Maybe you don't make anything new with it, but yeah, I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, man. And that's exactly why, I had the same realization, and it's not even a realization. It's kind of, well, it is, but it's kind of just like, it's kind of knowing where everyone stands, not where you just specifically stand, but where everyone stands. Like most people in the world are average people, right? And so that's the category that most everyone stands in and stays in. And then there is them people who get to the category of, on average, where it's just like you're fucking big time. But that's why I think it's so cool to bring it back to the whole us having a show and doing it for like a charity cause, is just because you're making a big impact in the community in a smaller way, but it could be in a bigger way, in a different way, right? So before, I'll say it on this podcast, but I had YK Collective. Rest in peace, YK Collective.
YK RIP.
2010, I believe, to 2022. I didn't push it in 23.
I
with
got a YK shirt.
You did. You bought It Doesn't Take Much to Be a Good Person.
I love
and
that
that's
shirt.
exactly what I'm about to say is I used my brand to donate to mental health, whatever the website is. But I'm always trying to think, bro. I'm always trying to think of like ways to impact that aren't the norm in our field, right? Like, all right, I can't reach 1 million people with music currently. I just haven't got there yet. It just hasn't happened, or whatever the case. But how can I keep making an impact and fulfilling myself too? Because what we do with music is we're always trying to fulfill something inside of us. And like you said with the Eagles and the Phillies, and like you tried to make music this past week and like it just wasn't happening in that moment. You were trying to fulfill something. And so that has happened to me a million times where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing any of this shit. What else could I do though to fulfill me? And my big thing has been like charity shit. And yeah, dude, I just think for us normal low key, artists that are like very small town, I consider myself a small town artist. I think that's just like a cool move to just make sure that like we're fulfilling ourselves, still doing what we love. Think of just doing a show in front of a bunch of people who came out. Like that is the dream.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And so
Exhilarating.
yeah, and so that's my thing. And I did a podcast two of them ago where I was solo and I was talking about like what success is. So I'm curious from your perspective, what does success, mean to you in terms of just like your overall well-being? Like what is success?
Yeah, I think it's changed over the years, honestly. I think recently I hit a point of, I guess you call it enlightenment, where I stopped caring about the end result so much and caring more about the process and really just focusing on my well-being and being happy, because at the end of the day we can choose that. Like, being happy is something that you can choose to do. It's not something that is just, I don't know, like whatever the word might be, but we can choose to be happy. And I think that's ultimately what success is to me, is somebody happy in life. You know what I mean? Because you only live one time. I mean, you should just do whatever it is that makes you happy. You should make the music that makes you feel good or that makes you happy, because I mean, you shouldn't really do it for other people. You should do it for yourself. And you could make $1 million, you could make $1. If you're happy and you're enjoying your time here, I think that's success. And it sounds super cliche, but I think it's something that a lot of people take for granted. Hell, I took it for granted. I still do. You kind of got to pull yourself back and kind of ground yourself and just be thankful that you're in the position that you're in. And I think success is definitely going to be defined differently for everybody. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Man.
I just want to be happy and just have fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I work a day job like you, and that's how I make my living, and then that fuels my studio time. And I think once upon a time, success for me would have been, moving out to LA. Like, I know you've talked about it. Everyone wants to do that.
Yeah.
Make music, move out to LA or Nashville or whatever,
Yeah. Nashville's cool.
Yeah, Nashville actually has.
I'd probably go to Nashville over LA at this point. But yeah, man,
right
I totally, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
No, you actually hit the point that I was very curious about of the whole success thing. I think that was a good WesLeeWates quote there for the podcast. And yeah, man, it really just comes down to, I agree at this point, it's what makes you happy, and it takes everyone to learn that at different rates, right? So like someone might go through their whole music journey or their whole life, trying to reach success of whatever that means, but the bigger picture of their life, their movie that they're living, if they just change their perspective, they already have been.
Perspective.
It's perspective.
Yeah,
that's
100%,
it, right?
100%.
And so I know plenty of people who, and I don't compare myself to anyone. I just observe and I see other people and like, are they happy? Are they not? Because we all go through our ups and downs.
It's easy to compare yourself to people.
Yeah. And whether that's unhealthy or not, but it's like human nature to look and just be like, well, they seem successful, but then what is success? And that was my biggest struggle too. I told you before we started about just getting a job that was more long term, because I had this thing in my music journey where I was so hell-bent on, the whole LA thing or Nashville thing or just going on a tour, even down the East Coast. Like, I got to go on a tour first.
Which would be cool.
It would be cool shit, and I still would do it.
Hell yeah.
I didn't change. That's the whole thing. I didn't change what I want to do. I just changed the perspective that I had over my own life.
Boom.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom.
We got some quotes going right now. But yeah, man, like it's essentially just the perspective, and like you will catch other people, who still have to learn and go through their trials and tribulations to get to the point of where I think we're both at, in terms of like, we still create music because we love to fucking create it. It might not happen every day. Like, I'm definitely not, especially in the past few weeks, I've just been busy.
Me too.
It's life though, right? Like, you're just busy and you fall off, but like you always come back to the things that you fucking love. Except my last girlfriend.
Yikes.
Yikes. But yeah, well, speaking of the subject, what's your deal with relationships? This is what I wanted to ask you earlier. What is the inspiration of like most of your songs? Not most, but like how do you get inspired to write some of your songs? Is it life? Is it based on other people's lives? Like, what's the deal with that?
Honestly,
It's all over the place. I
it
know.
it is all over the place. Some of them are totally true, like 100% true stories. Some of them I just put myself in the shoes of someone that may have experienced that. I didn't necessarily experience that exactly. You know, it might be a little bit of a white lie. Maybe I stretched the truth a little bit to make a good song. But
Totally acceptable.
yeah, and honestly, it was pretty funny. I remember I made probably, I want to say 2 or 3 songs about a past relationship I had. And I remember I was riding high while it was going on. And I remember one of my buddies saying, as a joke, just, now you need to get your heart broken so you can write a bunch of good songs. And I didn't think too much. I was like, yo, fuck you, dude. Like, you know what I mean? And then a couple months later, it ended up happening. And it did help me write a bunch of songs. And granted, they were all kind of like lovey-dovey, sappy, like, oh, my heart's broken kind of songs. But I feel like I needed to get that energy out, and it led to some of my successful songs. And
Yes.
I'm very thankful for the situation or the things that happened to me, because they've made me the person I am today. And at the end of the day, I really wouldn't take anything away from it, because I've learned a lot from it, and it helped me write some songs.
Hell yeah, man. And I'm literally the same way. I my I'm gonna shout out my brother Dan. Shout out Dan. Uh, he always knocked on me like when I'd be like upset and shit, because he didn't want to see me sad over like girls and shit. But I'd put out like, in recent times I don't think I have much like drama music in terms of like relationship stuff, because I just haven't been there for a while. But in the past, I had people like, yo, like all of your music is just sad as hell, like fuck that girl, you know what I mean? And I was like I know, but also I know that if anyone's listening out there, that there are people that are going to relate to that, you know. But that goes with all different songwriting. Like a happy song everyone's going to relate to, because they want to be fucking happy, you know, in the summertime on the beach, you
100%.
know. So music has always, you know, I've always been judged off of, oh man, his shit's really sad. Like I've had people literally be like, yo, your shit's been real sad. It's like, because that's just the way it fucking is right now. That's what, it's not even like I don't want to be inspired by this, man. It's just the way I feel. And like, we're expressing ourselves as artists.
Yeah, you're releasing energy into the world.
Yeah, you're giving that release, and it just is the way it is. So I try to let people know, if they do reach out, like, hey, this song, because what you just said, sometimes you fudge some stuff to make that song. And so when people do like ask me like personal shit, I just say, and it is the truth though, I say, I want you to listen to this song and not think of me. Don't think that I'm Sean P. Think of Sean Valy, the artist, making this song for the general public, for other people who feel this way. Because that's all we're doing. We are encapsulating a feeling that we have, and we're putting it out there, and it's just a bubble, and people can either hop in or it doesn't work for them. They don't like that song. They can't relate to it.
Of course. And it's so interesting to see what songs people relate to. I mean, as an artist, you never know. You're like, a song that you might not totally fuck with, everyone loves.
Yeah.
And it's just weird how that works. So with my past 2 songs, Wildfire and Guava Juice, I didn't know which people would like more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my vocal range.
Guava Juice is dope.
Yeah, guava juice is a vibe.
Yeah,
And
and I love your acoustic shit you did to it too.
thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
If
that.
you haven't checked it out, Guava Juice by WesLeeWates is out.
Let's go.
And it's fucking dope. And it's fully produced by him too. That's what's cool about Wes is he is essentially for his personal stuff, not the house stuff, correct?
Yeah, not the
Electronic music. You're fully produced. You and your brother are fully producing and
Yes, sir.
Nice. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So, Guava Juice, it's not the most impressive vocal song necessarily, but I wrote that song with absolutely nothing but a guitar and myself outside just hanging out in my backyard. And I remember I was kind of going through some type of like I don't know, something with my mental health, just trying to be thankful for everything.
Sure.
And I feel like everyone, including myself, kind of can get into a negative space and just trying to break out of that. And being negative doesn't really do anybody any good at the end of the day. I mean, it's not going to change anything that happened in the past. And I just think it can kind of ruin your vibe moving forward. And I think if you just align with positive energy, it's just the way to live.
The manifestation
And,
will,
Yeah, you just got to manifest things. That's another way of saying it. And I think Guava Juice is awesome because it's just one of the realest songs I've ever written. It's like, don't let yourself get negative. It won't do anyone any good. Just think about some things that you love. And I think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just always trying to improve and build upon yourself and the life that you're living. I think that's really what it's about.
Yeah, and it's like that. It can be, music can be so cliche. It doesn't have to be deep, right? Some of the best songs out there are the ones that have the shortest lyrics, but like the music kind of just speaks for itself in that sense. So it doesn't have to be so deep and so, a lot of people also get caught up with being so intricate with lyrics, and like you can't go there. You can make them rap songs where it's like a million bars in the song and you're talking your shit. But some of the best songs are just them simple ones that like majority can relate to, and it's more so on the side of like pop genre, you know what I mean? Just popular, like one line, like 5-line fucking songs that like are the big ones. What genre is this specific one? Did you label it as?
I just always revert back to calling stuff pop music.
Pop, yeah.
I mean,
that's why I mean that's what I just said. That's what I figured.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a broad genre. I mean, it's just popular music that you could maybe hear on the radio, or your family or friends could listen to.
Speaking of which, did you curse in that song?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
You have to. What I would suggest.
I try not to curse in any of my songs.
Me too.
By the way,
Me
just
too.
Because it doesn't.
Me too. At this point,
doesn't help you really.
it doesn't, because then you go back. You're like, wait, I want to try to actually get this on the radio possibly, and then you're like, oh wait.
There's a bunch of curse words. And it's probably not good. Or you have to go back and you hear like the versions of those songs where like every other word's a curse word.
Yeah.
And they blank them out.
Yeah.
And it's like.
Nah. It became, I think like maybe 7, 8, 9 years. It like long in my early career where, you're just naturally taking words and then filling them with curses, right? And
it feels good.
It feels good, but that was like one of the first things that when I started taking like songwriting, like lyric writing, more serious, not production, but like just lyrics more serious was, and it was also natural, was just not cursing.
Yeah.
And it just felt more real and whatnot. But yeah, man, you should 100% with the newer stuff that you'll be releasing, try to just email, and I'll give you some emails.
Appreciate you.
From 88.5, shout out WXPN 88.5, shout out Helen Light for believing in me. Just try to get your stuff on the radio, because you do have really quality like alternative pop.
Thank you.
That could 100%. A lot of the times when I gotta back this up. I just clipped, I think. a lot of the times when I have submitted my stuff to Helen back in the day, who was putting a few of my songs on 88.5, she had told me, she's like, listen, if you think this song could go on the radio station, send it in. I was like, okay. And so it wasn't really about even if the song was, good or not good. It was just, does it fit? Does it fit around the other songs that are being played? And the
Could
cool
it seamlessly work
could it
into the radio?
yeah. And like I know with radio stuff, like you really have to be like if you're consistently being played up on there, like it's very like real, and you need like the proper like I guess like mentoring, agent, whatever the hell, management, whatever that is to get your royalties correct. But for my scenarios, what has happened, which everyone is allowed to do, is send your stuff to these local radio stations who do, weekly picks of local artists and stuff. And so for me, I had Come Around with Scotty. I had Fire Track. I have Ribs with Wave Mage.
Is that's a cover, right?
Yes.
Ribs? Okay. Yeah,
Ribs is a cover of Lord by Ribs. But yeah, I sent these songs, and then I did Candy Skies off of the Ultraviolet album. I also sent
I like that song too.
Yeah, thank you, bro. I also sent Silhouettes in the Sun because I was just like, dude,
that is my all-time favorite Sean Valy song.
Thank
honestly,
you, bro.
Dude. That song is such a vibe.
Yeah, that was with Pilot Kid. Shout out Pilot Kid. Yeah, dude, I love that song. I sent that in. Maybe it got lost in email. I really don't know.
They didn't play it.
They didn't play it, and
that's the song to play.
I know, dude. It's kind of, but for everyone to learn, don't give up on your shit because it could have just got lost in email. Also, Helen, who I would email, Helen was the main chick of the radio station who somehow just like literally believed in me and like followed me on Twitter, Instagram, and like I was just on like messaging level with her, not like even email. Like she was just like, dude, just send me your shit when you have a song that you think is going to fit, and I'll fucking spin it. And so we got up to 3 songs with her. I believe it was 3. It wasn't 4. And she retired. She just retired.
Damn.
Yeah, this past year.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. And
you didn't find out who the new contact
I
was?
did. Mike Vasilikos.
Okay.
Shout out Mike Vasilikos. I've talked to him in email. I sent him my song Small Town, where I'm playing the piano. In this small town, there's lots of people.
Another solid one. I like the.
Yeah, you actually gave me feedback on that. Yeah, it was
yeah.
like just a weird, different, like, it wasn't my traditional shit because that was almost fully produced by me, but then I had Wave Mage, aka Jeff, help me top that off. But yeah, I had sent that in because I was just like, oh, this is like kind of like a somber fucking chill thing with like, the chorus kind of is bigger towards the end, like that little grand finale outro that Jeff does. But yeah, he was like, yeah, I'll check it out. Thanks for sending in this and that. But even something as small as just getting the email back from the main guy on the radio station is great. That means he saw your shit. So you keep sending him shit. Now, I don't want to be like overbearing and be like, yo, new song every week. Here, try this one. Try that. It's very like, all right, I actually believe this one could be like the local pick of the week, and that's probably why Ribs and Candy Skies and Come Around worked in the past, was because I chose them specifically. I could have set other I really wanted to try to get Kelly, one of me and Kelly's songs, Ultraviolet, off of Ultraviolet. It was the name track of the album. And I had sent it to Helen, and this was right after she did Candy Skies on the radio 2 summers ago, and it was just too quick, I think, like, because she was playing this, and like the next week I'm like, yo, hey Helen, I have this one with my sister, and she never got back to me on it. because I'm not like friends with them. Like it's kind of just like they just believe in me, so
Yeah.
they probably check out the music and they're probably like, yeah, nah, I'm not feeling that one. But it's literally worth a shot for like people like us, like to
Always.
literally.
Always.
I'll give you Mike's email, but you have to, bro, because it's such a good feeling. Even though it's only played once, twice, three times, maybe, it's just cool to know that, like, all right, everyone who's tuned into 88.5 right now in the greater Philadelphia, New Jersey, I think they go all the way to Delaware, this station. Everyone who's tuned in during the workday at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon just heard my shit.
Yeah, that's sick.
And they say your name. They say if it's off your album. Like, you give them a little information in the email. Like, hey, this is Guava Juice by WesLeeWates. I produced this with my brother. They'll shout that all out. They'll be like, this is WesLeeWates, produced with his brother, Guava Juice.
Let's go.
Yeah, and then you're like, fuck yeah. And you tell all your homies and shit and, like, everyone you're following to tune the fuck in to 88.5. And, yeah, I think I tell everyone that goes back to the old school ways, like getting back to not social media, emailing, right? And just, it's almost like knocking on the door. Like when I was in Nashville, I went up to Sony, but it was Sony Nashville. Because I guess, or wait, no, it wasn't Sony. Wait, was it Sony? I don't know. I can't remember, but it was. I'm sitting on the ledge.
Or like Universal or something like
It was,
that.
yeah, dude, it was one of the big names. And I went up to the door and I put my card on the door. I'm like, and there's
Why
a
not?
there's a
Yeah.
clip of me. We never made the vlog. There's a clip of me where Chris is filming. I'm like, that's the best I can do, dude. Like I don't know what else to do. Like it's a Saturday. It's not like I'm walking in this building. There's security everywhere.
Dude, you gotta shoot your shot on some level.
have
Whether
to.
or not you're just like throwing cards somewhere, and maybe they just end up in the trash, but
Yeah,
you never know.
probably.
You never know.
The janitor probably came in at 4 a.m. and was like, oh, another one. Trash.
True, especially in Nashville.
Yeah, like they're cleaning up every night. Everyone's out fucking partying, and then the next day, all the building guys are just cleaning up all the shit. Like, yeah.
There's a bunch of music business cards.
Have you ever been to Nashville?
No, I haven't.
Dude,
I've been meaning to
You
get down there.
You have to get out there and go with like your brother. Go with someone who would appreciate like the whole music situation. Like if you have music friends, go with them. And because for me, when we were in Nashville, it wasn't about like we went out. We were actually there last year on Memorial Day weekend, which was lit as fuck. Like
that had to have been
you couldn't
crazy.
ask to be anywhere else besides Nashville on Memorial Day weekend. Like it was just like packed. Like it was just like unbelievable. And I'm a fucking introvert to like begin with, so I was just like, this is a lot, but I opened up and I was like, this is fun.
Yeah, it was like the main street. What is it, Broadway or
Broadway,
whatever?
yeah. And like I was nervous, like walking down Broadway, millions of fucking kids, not kids, but
People
people
kids.
who can drink, who are young. And it was just like overwhelming. It was just like, holy shit, like fucking stacked buildings of people hanging off the buildings, drinking. Dude, it was just like it was my most nostalgic thing on my trip. But if you ever go there, go with your music buds, because like after you do that for 2 nights or whatever the fuck, you want to go like explore down Music Row and shit, and like go to the Johnny Cash Museum and like just see like really cool history and see all the recording studios are down Music Row. It's just like you're like, oh yeah, fucking Dolly Parton recorded here, Miley Cyrus here. You know what I mean? Like it's just like really. That's where I was leaving my cards on Music Row.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I was just like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I have a buddy in Nashville that I've collabed with on a couple songs. Only one record's made it into the real world. Better with you. But my boy Cade, shout out to Cade. Yeah, I need to make it down there and check it out.
Yeah, dude, I'll fucking go with you. Fuck that.
Let's go.
Like, let's fucking fly out for a weekend. What we should try to do though, if we do that, is like we should see about like getting like some studio time on some whack shit, like just rolling up.
I mean, I've only been to one major studio, and when I went there, I paid for the time and everything, and I had a dude remix a song.
And it came out like shit.
Yeah, well, it didn't come out like
Isn't
shit.
it weird when someone else is mixing your stuff? You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, dude, like I sent him the stems. I already had it like generally mixed. It wasn't mastered or anything, but I liked the way the mix was, and he wanted to remix it, and not like remix the production, but remix
The vocals.
the levels, and
Yeah.
EQ, like the actual mix. And I remember after the session was over, I learned a lot of things just by watching him work. But at the end of the day, I liked my mix better, actually. I was like, wait, what? Like that, I couldn't believe it. And it gave me so much confidence after that. Because I was like, the things that he's doing, I can do. And it was more so a matter of just finding out a couple little secret plugins and stuff like that, where I was like, oh, okay. Like, I just needed one studio session. I was like, it's no offense to those people. I feel confident enough to where I'm like, I could do that on a very, very similar level and feel confident about it. So
Yeah, you're very similar to me. We're actually like the same on that regard. It's probably because our birthdays are like fucking 2 days away from each other. We're the same age.
Dude, let's go.
Yeah. What's your birthday again?
June 17th.
June 24th. Boom. We'll have to put out like an EP in the future.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And release it right in between that. But yes, dude, I'm very similar where I've been to different scenarios, different studios and stuff, and like I receive a mix, and it hasn't been for a long time at this point because I'm just like very, I'm like you, and I all like you said, like all it took was like 1, 2, 3 sessions maybe to be like, oh, okay, that's how they're maneuvering it. All right, let me do that. Let me experiment more though, because you know what it is. It's not even the person, right? It's not even the mixing engineer. It's not the producer you're working with. You know what it is? It's time, right? So you're paying for this 2-hour session, and the producer or engineer is trying to fucking tweak it and send you home with the master, right? And you get home with the master, and you're like, all right, I love this shit, but I think I could like sit here and take a lot of time and really make it the way I want it.
Yeah, the way that I want it, and not have to feel rushed or feel like I'm pressured to
even
like the mix.
Yeah,
even with anything
even
like
with
that.
us too. When we did the song like a month ago, I was like, yo, just send me all the stems, so I could sit on them stems and like listen to each fucking one. I still haven't done anything with that, just to let you know.
Oh, it's all good, bro.
But that's for the future. Like that shit.
Absolutely.
That shit's gonna fucking
the seed's been planted.
Yeah, the seed's
It's just gotta be watered.
Yeah, the seed. Yeah, it's there. It's backed up on like 3 drives. It's not going fucking nowhere. And but the whole idea is like, all right, let me sit on this shit. Let me add shit to this maybe in the future. Let me just sit. Let my ears rest for a while on it. And,
which you need, honestly.
Yeah, you
really
need
do.
to.
I feel like we all fall in that trap of just like listening to it like 1,000 times. Like the people I live with, shout out to, because they're like, they hear the songs like 1,000,000 times, and like once I finally release it, they're like, I fucking hate this song. Which I totally get.
That's why I came in here, because Chris would be like, yeah, it's a good song, dude, but I've heard it 1,000,000 times.
I've heard it 1,000,000 times.
Fuck. So
I get it.
My new thing with them, everyone who I live with, is
the same way.
I don't let anyone fucking like. I'll peep it to Chris like one mix, and I told him, I forget what song. I think it was the one we did. No, it wasn't. I forget whatever song it was. I was like, I really shouldn't show you this because it's not going to sound like this again. And I showed it to him. Oh, it was a different song that I'll show you after the podcast. But I showed it to him, and he's like, I really like this shit. And like, there was no drums in it at that point. It was just a little guitar riff that I made that needs to be like worked on. But then I added like drums to it and like tried to add like a bigger chorus on it. And I showed him again. I'm like, dude, I updated this shit. Like, check it out. And he's like, yeah, but why is the beat like? I'm like, fuck her. And it wasn't about the beat. It was because I changed the beat. I was doing halftime beat, I guess.
That's kind of like what we did almost.
Yeah.
Where like I was asking you about like if we wanted to do halftime or if we wanted to do.
Yes, the beat was like, say the beat was 70 BPM, but then I made the beat fucking 140 instead type shit, because I felt like in this specific song I was just like, I think like a faster tempo, but with the slower lyrics would sound like really cool. And so when I showed it to Chris, he's like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm like, all right, bro. All right, I gotta take a piss real quick.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like, I've never met Shane before. I think we're like briefly acquainted through Instagram, but yeah, no, I've followed him, a product of you, and that new song that he put out, New and Easy. Yeah, I mean that shit's fire. There's no hook or anything. He just spits the whole time, and it's all just the realest shit.
Yeah, Shane.
It's like, holy fuck, dude.
Shane,
He's talented.
Shane is. I'm letting Shane be in his rap lane. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
I love it, dude.
I'm not interfering with him in that sense because
that is him.
He's passionate as fuck about. Shout out Shane Z. He is passionate as fuck about rapping. I'm like, I asked him. The podcast probably came out at this point. But I asked him in that one, like, is this your genre? And he said, yeah. He said, I'm not switching out. Because in my case, like, I'm always jumping genres and shit. But
Same.
That's just me. Like, that's just what I like to do. But yeah, for him specifically, he's just like, yeah, I'm good. I'm sitting here and I'm gonna progress at this situation.
And
so.
I love that and respect that. I mean, personally, and you too, we both kind of jump around a little bit, but I also think there's a lot of value in someone just kind of finding like what their niche is and like what they do and just kind of like rolling with that.
100%.
Just trying to be as good as they can be at their thing.
I think for us, I think the reason there's different scenarios, but I think for me, for you probably, the reason why we genre jump is because we're very, very involved in our production and all of that kind of stuff. Someone like Shane Z works with Jumbo. Shout out Jumbo. A lot of shout outs in this one, but Shane works a lot with Jumbo, a lot with his boy Keen and all like his crew.
I mean, whoever mixes his records.
Jumbo.
Yeah, Jumbo does a great job.
Yeah, Jumbo fucks shit up. And me and Shane actually have a few songs that we're getting mixed by him. We're going to do a little EP. And it's like more rap, hip-hop based. But yeah, dude, I think for us, we jump genres a lot because we are very heavily involved in our production. So
I would say that, and also I think I just go through phases of music that I listen to, and I get so inspired by certain things, and I'm like, you know, maybe one day I make like an EDM song or something like that, and then I listen to like a bunch of John Mayer, and then I go make something that's super organic with guitars and, you know, whatever the case is. I feel like I jump around, or I'm like, oh, I really want to make a pop punk song. Like I grew up on that kind of stuff, you know, like Yellow Card, Good Charlotte, like all that kind of stuff. 182.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what aside from them, what was growing up? Because your dad, when I came to your house the first time, was like, wait a minute, there's like guitars all over this fucking house. Like, yeah, my dad, like your dad has his own studio, like not studio, but like that room down there,
creative space.
Yeah, where he just does his thing. What was his genre that? Or not genre, what were some of his artists that you grew up listening to in the car back in the day?
Yeah, shout out to my dad, because I won't directly relate what I'm doing to him, but I think subliminally and just, I don't know, I guess fundamentally, like, it really does relate back to him. I mean, he was in a band in Atlanta after he graduated from college. He moved down to Atlanta to try to make it big with his band.
So he was doing it.
Yeah,
so you had this shit going in the family blood.
But I never appreciated any of it, and
because you didn't know, you didn't realize it yet in life.
I didn't understand really. It just never really clicked in my brain what he had done. But he also recorded a couple songs. I want to say 3. And they're on YouTube, and he mixed them on analog gear in the 90s. Like, there was no DAW, no anything.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I listened to it, and I'm like, dude, these are like, they're fucking good. Like, I'm surprised at the quality. Did you take them
and fucking sample them and loop them and shit?
So I've been trying to get my dad to make his own like Spotify page and everything like that. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, like if you can get me the audio files from those records, I don't need the stems or anything because that's impossible at this
Yeah.
point. But if you can get me the final thing, I could probably
Clean them
clean them up, master them,
EQ them a little
EQ them a
bit.
little bit, and then you can release them as whoever you want to be. You know,
Yeah.
my dad's a goon.
Is it just him solo on them?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, he played the guitar. He had a drum machine, and
how do
he
you
played the bass.
how do you
yeah.
even acquire the audio from that?
He has
Like,
them. So
where does that exist?
I asked him about it, and I don't know where the hell he has them on like a drive or something like that. But
on a floppy disk, probably.
No, honestly, real shit. I think he does have them on like a floppy disk or something like that because he recorded them in the 90s.
You gotta get them, bro.
For real, but they're on YouTube, so I think you could just download them from YouTube.
You could do
it that way.
Yeah, you could do a converter or something.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
But yeah, I mean, he I guess it's in my blood. I mean, I couldn't tell you, bro, but yeah, he's shout out to my dad. He's been definitely a big influence on me. My dad and my brother, they're both just talented musicians, and I'm the only one who records music and makes records aside from the ones that I told you my dad made. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm really thankful for them, and yeah, I wouldn't be where I'm at without them.
Yeah, that's all dope, man. It's good to have that, you know, and I'm sure they support you as well with everything you do.
Dude, all right. So right now I'm living with my parents just like you.
Yeah.
And it's just a good situation. Moved back right before COVID, and there just hasn't been a reason for me to leave. I mean, they support me with the music. They're super cool about everything.
You got your spot going.
Yeah, everything's great. I love my parents. I love my family. But the point I'm getting at is they can hear me replaying music in my room constantly. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, if this annoys you in any way, like, you have to let me know. I'll stop or whatever. And like, there's been some times where like my sister or someone will be like, dude, like, she'll be like mad at me. Like, after I walk out for an hour, she's like, I was trying to fucking sleep or something like that. I'm like, my bad. Like, I'll forget to put on headphones or something.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I'm very, very thankful for them putting up with me playing music over and over again, as I'm sure
100%.
you can 100% relate to that.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's just part of the process. It has to happen.
It does.
And no one who listens to the final product would know that. But
they don't. Yep, they never will. That's a very big thing. Is
like, I'm not listening to it over and over again just for my pure satisfaction. Like, I'm trying to like EQ something to like where the point of where it sounds how I want it to sound.
Yeah.
And like, someone listening on the other side of the wall they can't hear that.
They
They're
can't
like,
hear
why
that
the
tweet.
fuck are they playing it like 20 fucking million times?
No, dude, it's so funny. It's the truth. It is the fucking truth.
I totally get it.
That's why
That's
why I threw myself. I luckily was fortunate enough to have this space right here to be like, I'm fucking building the booth.
Absolutely.
Because they can't. They just every night. Chris was texting me like, dude, turn it the fuck down. Tired of hearing that chorus. I'm like, dude, I'm really sorry. I'm just trying to stack this vocal correct and like, fuck it. Yeah. So, dude, it's so funny, but it is so. It's so cool though that you have that support. I have that support. Like, we have that.
It's huge.
It's huge, because if you didn't, it would be there. And I'm sure there are people out there that, you know, have to deal with sitting not fortunate enough to have the situations we have. And so you know, shout out my family too. I'm very fortunate to have the setup I have. Thank you, Mom. So Wes, before we wrap up the podcast, tell the people, what is your game plan? What is next for you? Are you going to continue to just release singles? Do you want to do some music videos in the future? You know, what's the next updates for WesLeeWates?
Yeah, so for a while before I released Wildfire and Guava Juice, I was working on 3 projects. One 10-song album, another probably about 10-song album for Waits Bros, me and my brother, and then a 5-song like pop punk, like nostalgic, just something like that, kind of an EP. And I was pretty quiet for all that time, and Guava Juice was actually part of an album that I was gonna release, and it was just sitting there, and I still haven't finished all the other songs, and I'm like, dude, this song, who knows when I'm gonna release this song? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's good enough, or cool enough, or unique enough to make artwork just for that and release it as a single, and I ended up doing that, and I think it worked out, and I think it's pretty cool, but yeah, I'm working on tentatively 3 projects. I have no idea when they're going to be finished. My original goal was summer of 2023. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I just haven't hit it hard enough and haven't written enough songs, but I have pretty much all the demos laid out. I just need to write the lyrics.
Cuz also you are not rebranding your name, but kind of just rebranding your sound, right?
I go back and forth about it all the time. Like I wanted to delete a bunch of my old music and just kind of start fresh in a way and move forward with the threshold of quality music and production sound that I feel like I've gotten to recently, and just move forward on that and make stuff that is truly organic to me. And that's really just where I'm at this point. I just want to make music that I have fun making and I enjoy. I don't want to box myself in a certain genre, but I have been getting some very good feedback on stuff like Guava Juice, which I feel like is kind of like an alternative pop sort of a space. And I think I'd like to live in that space. I do think that's very organic and just genuine to me, and I just make that kind of music naturally. So I think that's probably what I'm going to look to build upon moving forward.
That direction, and I'm sure you'll find
Because I can play it live too.
yeah, I'm sure yeah, exactly, and that's a big thing. I'm sure you'll find that that base of people who, easily fall into that category of they like that kind of music
For sure.
because you do have your streams come from all over, but a lot of them come from
The EDM stuff.
the EDM stuff. So
And that's kind of the dilemma I'm in is
yeah,
when someone goes to my Spotify page, they see the top 5 songs are all of those songs that I've collabed with DJs on, which is great, awesome.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that. But when I think about it, I'm like, is that going to bury all my other songs that I come out with? And like how like am I oversaturating my page? And like, when someone comes to listen to my page, or they're like, oh, he just makes electronic music, and then they just like box me in and label me as that, and like maybe they didn't get to listen to all my other music that they might have liked or might have been up their alley or whatever the case is.
right,
And I honestly have been struggling with that. I don't know where to go, but I know that anything that I do make is going to be high quality.
yeah, 100%. And I think
That's all that matters.
I think that you leave it as it is, right? In my opinion. And you continue to put out your shit, and what I tell everyone, what I've said a million times is, with Guava Juice, network it, don't give up on it. That's like small artists' biggest mistakes is
I do it all the time.
I know, and
I just stop.
and
I don't put any effort into
I'm going
it.
to tell you, you don't have to keep pushing it on Instagram, because that's not where it's going to happen.
You just have this. I have this like perception that like Instagram is like the.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
No, so
Like,
do
it's
I.
like-
No, so do I. But that's what I've had to teach myself, and that's what I've had to. This is the conversations I have with Chris. Luckily, with Chris, he's kind of like my right hand man. Like, where I'm like, yo, what should I do about this? He's like, you want me to be honest with you? People don't give a fuck. Or he's like, well, people like this one, but you have to do it like this, maybe. Because he's that third party. He's that outside that has nothing to do with the actual. Well, he does have a lot to do with the creative process, because he'll sit where you're sitting and like guide it and help me with shit.
But he's more of a third party.
But
he doesn't have as much skin in the game.
Yeah, he has the in and he has the out. So he's like, dude, I don't know if that's gonna fucking work. But what we have to do is we don't have to keep putting it on Instagram every day. We don't have to do that, because it's too fucking much. It's too oversaturated. We don't have to do that.
For sure.
What we do have to do, though, is we have to take Guava Juice, right? We have to take Silhouettes in the Sun, and we have to even. It doesn't even matter if Guava Juice broke out in 10 years from now. It doesn't matter. But what matters is if you just slightly push it, send it out to one radio station a week, one email, make your email, write it up, and then be like, all right, this week I'm going to send it to this Nashville station. Send the email. This week I'm going to send it to this fucking Austin, Texas station, or this DJ in Texas. You know what I mean? Small. And just to do it, I feel like is enough for you to be fulfilled that you're still trying, but not oversaturating it like Instagram would be. Because how many times does people, and this is what I learned over the summer when I was experimenting with posting every day. I knew what I was doing. I knew I was annoying people, but I wanted to see what was going to happen from the outside of my following. Not much happened. And at this point, not much will happen, I don't think, with just being another artist out there. Unless you're like 8 foot tall and like you're just like, like crazy like we're so talented in our own ways, you know what I mean? But
absolutely,
we have to find the other avenues, is what I'm saying, to also continue to promote our shit.
I would say
I could be wrong, I don't know, but that's just
my dad continually says you have to do something different and like almost weird kind of to stand out.
Yes. Like play the guitar with your dick out and you'll probably get views.
Yeah, something like that. But like, I totally agree with him. But at the same time, it's like I'm not gonna like try to do something just to like get views and get like. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, it goes back to the kind of the happiness thing in a way. But it's like
success.
you have to just make the best quality music you could possibly make. Like that is the most important thing. You have to make high quality music. If you write a good song and it's not high quality music, then it's probably not going to do that well.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like the quality of the music is one of the, if not the most important things.
Yes.
And I think if you can, like if someone listened to your music and maybe they didn't necessarily connect with the genre or whatever it was, like, I don't really like that music, but they can't deny that it's a well produced, like a well mixed song, a well-written song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can respect that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the biggest things that I just want to tell anyone who makes music is just focus on making the highest quality music possible. And anything else will work itself out.
Yes. Even if making that song takes you 2 years, focus on making a very high quality song. And if you start out with just a demo shit quality, it doesn't mean that you can't turn that into the best version of that fucking song.
Absolutely.
So yes, I agree. It is, and what I've learned is quality over quantity. Unless you're going to experiment, unless you're going to Rust experiment, like on some Rust shit, and just 100% try that. For artists out there, 100% try that. Put out a song a week. I just think times have changed.
Yeah,
I
mean, the song a week thing it's impressive. Like when I see people doing that, I'm like, damn, dude.
If you stacked up like 50 songs, but it's time consuming. I think it's unrealistic to most people because most people are paying for studio sessions. So
it feels forced to me.
Yeah, it's just
honestly.
too much. It's too much.
It's just like, all right, like your songs get buried. Like you release one song on week 1 and then you release 5 more. Well, that song that you released.
Everyone has the right to experiment.
It's too much.
And try what they want to try. But from my experience and from what you're saying is quality is going to majority rules type situation.
100%.
Like,
Quality. It's quality over quantity.
It's literally the truth.
With all things in life.
It's literally the truth. But with that being said, WesLeeWates, man, thank you for being on the show. We had a nice talk, and of course we could do this again.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna get to making music and shit. But yeah, man, it was really great. I'm happy you came out. I'm happy you drove down or
Thank
up.
you for having me.
I think
It's an honor to be on Valy's Corner.
Valy's Corner. Everyone out there, I don't know what this. I think this might be episode 9. I'm still so early in this, but I think Shane's is episode 8. This is 9.
Shout out to Sean, by the way, because making podcasts is not easy. This is the first one I've ever done, and I was nervous as hell in the beginning. I was like, I don't know what to do with myself.
I'm nervous too. Trust me. Like when I went, Shane really fucked me up though last time because he was like, all right, here's a list of questions you gotta ask. I'm like, bro, I don't operate like that. Like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, bro. But I still, if you know, I don't know if you do or not, but like I still haven't uploaded my podcast to Spotify. They're just strictly on my YouTube channel, which I'm cool with. Like,
yeah, I've watched a handful.
But I need to figure out how to take my last 7 episodes and get them up to Spotify. And there's different hosts. It's not like DistroKid and all that kind of shit. It's like
it's not.
No. They don't do like audio podcasts and shit. So
I never looked into that actually. I never even thought
it's a whole nother host. Like there's different ones. Some of them are free, but you can only upload an hour. Like I'm pretty sure we're going to be pushing like an hour and 40 minutes maybe. So an hour 40-minute audio.
I can't believe it went that long. I feel like we could probably talk for like 5 more hours.
Oh, well, we would keep going. But yeah, no, we got to cut off. We're gonna make some music,
some vibes.
But all right, thank you guys for tuning in. WesLeeWates, Guava Juice is his latest, right?
Yes, sir.
And stream him. He's on Spotify, Apple Music, all the fucking streaming services you need. Guava Juice, WesLeeWates, Valy's Corner, Shawnee P, aka Sean Valy, out. Peace. Cool, man.
That was tight.
Yeah.
Yo.
What? Oh, my bad, bro. I turned my head.
I was like, dude, don't leave me hanging.
It's funny though, because I still got that recorded. Oh, I always add in like the extra fucking shit at the end.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Like I'll end it right now instead.
I mean, dude, that was really cool, man.